The House That Kept the Weather. A sleep story for overthinkers. Tonight, you arrive in a town that does not appear on most maps. It is not hidden on purpose. It simply has no reason to be found, unless you are tired enough to need it. The train leaves you at a narrow platform of dark wood, polished by years of rain and silence. There is no station building, only a lantern hanging from a curved iron post, glowing with the kind of golden light that feels older than electricity. Beyond the platform, the night is soft and blue. A thin mist moves through the pines. Somewhere nearby, though you cannot yet see it, water is traveling over stone. The train doors close behind you with a gentle sigh. Then the carriages move away, carrying their warm windows into the trees, until they look like a string of patient stars. And then, nothing at all. You are alone, but not in the sharp way that loneliness usually means. This aloneness is soft at the edges. It has room for you. At the end of the platform, a small sign swings once in the breeze. Hollow Vale. Below the name, written in smaller letters, are words that seem meant for only one person at a time, for those who have carried too much weather inside themselves. You stand still for a moment, reading it once, then again. The air smells of cedar, wet earth, and the faint sweetness of distant chimney smoke. It is cool enough to make your shoulders drop, cool enough to make you aware, for the first time all day, that you have been holding yourself together very tightly. A path begins just beyond the station, paved with old stone, half silvered by moss. Small lamps sit low to the ground, not bright enough to demand attention, only bright enough to tell you that yes, there is a way forward, and yes, you may take it slowly. So you do. Your bag is light, your thoughts are not. They rustle behind you like a second coat. All the unfinished things, all the remembered conversations, all the small regrets that only seem to speak once the world grows quiet enough to hear them. The path curves through the trees. On your left, the forest rises in dark green folds. On your right, the land falls gently into a valley, where a narrow river catches the moon in broken pieces. Along the hillside, you begin to see houses. Their windows shine softly through the branches. No sharp white lights, only amber, honey, candlelight colors. The town seems to breathe rather than bustle. There are no engines, no music, only the sound of water, the wind in the pines, and the occasional creak of a sign above a door. When you reach the first row of houses, you notice something unusual. Above each front door hangs a small brass instrument. Not quite a barometer, not quite a clock. Each one is different. One has a tiny silver cloud in the center. Another has a painted moon. Another is ringed with symbols of rain, snow, sun, and fog. They turn very slightly as you pass, as though listening. At the end of the lane stands the largest house in town. It is not grand in the way mansions are grand. It is grand in the way old trees are grand. Its roof lines are uneven and thoughtful. Its windows are tall. Ivy climbs one wall, and a conservatory of glass leans from the eastern side, like a lantern made into a room. On the porch, beneath a hanging lamp, is a wooden plaque. The House That Kept the Weather. Rooms for overnight guests. Tea served until sleep. You almost laugh, but only because it feels so specific that it must be true. Before you can knock, the door opens. A woman stands there in a dark blue cardigan with pearl buttons and soft grey hair pinned at the nape of her neck. Her expression is kind, but not surprised. as though she has been expecting someone exactly your shape for some time. You made it before the heavier rain, she says. You glance behind you. Above the valley, clouds are gathering. Dark, deep, and velvety. I did not know it was going to rain. In Hollow Vale, she says, stepping aside, most things arrive exactly when they mean to. Her voice is low and calm, the kind that makes you instinctively lower your own. Inside, the house is warmer than you expected. Not hot, just gently held. There is a fire in the sitting room, shelves of books, deep chairs in faded colors, a long rug with a pattern of winding rivers. Somewhere, perhaps from the kitchen, comes the scent of black tea and orange peel. The woman takes your coat and hangs it beside several others. I am Mara, she says. You will stay in the West Room. Best for first nights. First nights? She smiles in a way that suggests the answer is larger than the question. You will sleep well there. You are given a cup of tea in a porcelain mug painted with tiny swallows. You sit at a long table near the fire, while Mara writes your name in a ledger with blue ink. Her handwriting is careful and unhurried. When she finishes, she looks up. Before you go to your room, she says, would you like me to explain the house? You should probably say no. You are tired. The chair is warm. The tea is beginning to loosen the knots in your ribs. But curiosity, gentle and unforced, rises anyway. So you nod. Mara closes the ledger and folds her hands over it. This house was built a long time ago by a woman who believed that feelings and weather had more in common than people admit. She noticed that some guests arrived carrying storms that had nowhere to go. Not loud storms, the quiet ones, the kind that settle behind the eyes. So she built rooms for them. You glance around the firelit walls, not entirely sure whether she is joking. She is not. The house, Mara continues, does not fix anyone. That would be arrogant. It only keeps what they cannot carry for one night. Outside, the first rain touches the windows. Just a few drops at first. Then a slow, patient tapping. You listen. Mara listens too, as if checking on an old friend. In the morning, she says, most guests find that the weather inside them has changed. You should probably ask more questions. Instead, you find yourself saying the simplest thing. That sounds nice. It is, Mara says, especially for people who have been brave for too long. The West Room is at the end of a narrow corridor on the second floor. The hallway lamps are low. The carpet is soft beneath your feet. On the walls hang framed sketches of clouds in graphite. Cirrus, nimbus, stratus. Each one drawn with such attention that it seems to carry its own atmosphere. Your door is painted a muted green, like sea glass after rain. Inside, the room is larger than you expected. A wide bed sits beneath a sloping ceiling. The blanket is heavy linen. The pillows are overstuffed and cool. Near the window is a deep armchair with a wool throw folded over one arm. Beside it stands a small round table with a brass lamp and a plate of oat biscuits. Across from the bed is a fireplace, already set with small, quiet flames. But what draws your attention most is the window. It is taller than any ordinary window should be, and it is framed by long curtains the color of dusk. Beyond it lies the valley, dark and silver under the rain. Set into the wall beside it is a strange device, a narrow cabinet of glass and walnut, filled not with books, but with tiny drawers. Each drawer is labeled in careful script. Sea fog, summer thunder, roof rain, distant snow, pine wind, night fairy mist. At the center of the cabinet is a small brass lever. There is also a note resting beside it, for guests who cannot decide what sort of night they need. M. You smile despite yourself. You do not touch the cabinet yet. Instead, you set down your bag. You wash your face in cool water from a porcelain basin, and you change into the soft sleep clothes you packed without much thought, and which now feel like a wise decision made by a kinder version of yourself. The rain outside grows steadier. You sit in the armchair and let the house become audible. Floorboards settling, fire whispering, rain threading down the glass. Once, somewhere far below, the soft clink of a teacup being placed onto a saucer. No televisions, no voices through walls, no footsteps rushed by urgency. Only the sounds of a place that understands the usefulness of quiet. After a while, you rise and stand before the weather cabinet. You read the drawer labels again, slowly. Your hand hovers over roof rain, then pine wind, then night fairy mist. At last, without knowing why, you choose roof rain. The drawer opens with almost no sound. Inside rests not an object, but a folded scrap of deep blue paper. On it, in tiny script, are written a few lines, for the mind that has been trying to solve tomorrow before sleeping through tonight. For the heart that keeps replaying doors already closed. For the body that forgot stillness is not the same thing as stopping. There is nothing else in the drawer, yet when you close it and pull the small brass lever once, the rain outside changes. Not in volume, in character. It now sounds exactly like rain falling on a roof above you in the countryside. Close, sheltering, wooden, tender. The kind of rain that makes a room feel deserved. You sit back down, stunned only for a moment, before the house somehow makes this seem perfectly natural. You eat one biscuit, then half of another. You wrap the wool throw around your legs. And because no one is here to watch you doing it, you let your head rest back. You let your eyes soften, and you let the day begin to unfasten. It is then, in that drifting place between thought and rest, that you notice something else. You are no longer carrying your thoughts in the same way. They are still there, somewhere. The unfinished tasks, the unanswered messages, the complicated futures. But they no longer stand in a crowd at the edge of your mind, shouting to be chosen first. They are farther away now, as if the house has invited them into another room and given them tea. The fire lowers gently. The room dims, rain above, wind in the pines, a house holding its warmth around you with old, practiced hands. At some point, perhaps because sleep stories belong to old instincts, you find yourself imagining the first woman who built this place. You picture her here long ago, moving from room to room with a candle, listening to guests breathe. Not to watch them, only to make sure the house was doing its work. You imagine her noticing that certain sadnesses needed rain, certain worries needed fog, certain lonelinesses needed the sound of a distant train passing somewhere in the dark to remind them that the world continued softly beyond the window. Perhaps she learned that rest cannot be forced. It can only be invited. And perhaps that is what this house does. It invites. The bed invites. The pillow invites. The low fire invites. The rain says, in its 1,000 patient syllables, nothing is required of you now. You stand and cross the room, not because you are fully awake, but because you are sleepy enough to obey comfort without debate. The bed is softer than expected. The sheets smell faintly of lavender, starch, and fresh air. When you settle beneath the blanket, the mattress receives your weight without protest, as if it has been waiting all evening to hold exactly this shape. Outside, the valley is almost invisible now, dissolved into rain and night. You leave the curtains slightly open. A little darkness is comforting when it contains a window. You lie on your back for a moment, listening, then on your side, then still. Your breathing begins to deepen of its own accord. Thoughts come, but not to stay. One drifts in and drifts out. Another tries to begin a sentence and forgets the middle. A third appears at the door of your mind, sees the fire, hears the rain, and decides it can wait until morning. Downstairs, somewhere in the house, a clock chimes once. Not the hour, just once. A sound to mark that time is passing kindly. You do not know how long you lie there before sleep approaches fully. It does not come like a curtain. It comes like weather. A little more dark, a little more soft, a little less border between you and the warmth beneath you. In the last clear stretch before dreaming, you imagine the whole town sleeping. The little brass instruments above each door turning slightly in the night. The river slipping over stone. The pines lifting and lowering in the rain. Mara downstairs, closing the ledger, extinguishing lamps, pausing only to look toward the staircase with the calm certainty of someone who knows the house is doing what it has always done. Keeping, holding, weathering. And in your room, the house keeps for you what you could not set down alone. The pressure behind your thoughts, the old conversation replaying itself, the anticipation of tomorrow, the need to have answers now, tonight, immediately, before rest has been earned. The house takes none of these forever, only until morning, only until your hands are steadier, only until sleep has had its say. And with that, your body seems to understand before your mind does. Your jaw unclenches, your shoulders loosen, your hands uncurl their invisible grip. Rain on the roof, fire in the grate, cool air at the window, warm blanket over your legs. A room above a quiet valley, in a town that appears only when needed. You have arrived somewhere that asks nothing clever of you. No performance, no explanation, no solving. Only this, to be here, to be warm, to be carried for a little while by the oldest mercy there is. A safe place in the dark, and the slow, unremarkable miracle of finally falling asleep.